What is truth? Could there be any more relevant question then or for now? What is truth? This is a struggle that we find ourselves in and our own culture and our own society today. Truth is in the eyes of the beholder, some people say. Or there is the other saying, one's perception is their reality of truth. All around us, social media, the news, our friends and family bombard us every minute of the day by what is supposed to be the truth, only to hear that it might not be the truth. For example, I was listening to a talk show on the radio this week as I was making my way to Target to run some errands. And all of a sudden, about 5:30 p.m., on the talk show, the host said, "There's supposed to be some really big announcement coming from the White House that we will cover at 6 o'clock. Well, it got me all worked up, and I wondered what in the world was happening. They hinted at that it had something to do with South Korea and North Korea and President Trump and decisions that were being made. So I hurried in and watched my watch the whole time and immediately noticed how caught up I was in the anxiety of what was happening, the excitement and the possibilities and a little bit of fear of what might be going on in our world." So 6 o'clock rolled around, I made it out to my car, and the announcement came. The announcement that South Korea, North Korea, and the United States were possibly going to be all talking with one another and working together and overcoming some boundaries that have been set. It felt really big. It felt like something great might be beginning to happen. But I was an immediate skeptic myself, immediately wondering, is this true? Will it happen? What is this really all about? And before I could even think about it anymore myself, the talk show host said, "I don't buy it for 1 minute. This is all a scam and it's a manipulative plot." What is truth? Who are we to listen to? And what kingdom is it that we choose to belong? According to the biggest study done by MIT to date, they've been studying what is fake news. The truth takes 6 times longer to be seen by 1,500 people on Twitter than misinformation. Researchers found lies were 70% more likely to be retweeted than the truth. Even when the controlled factors for truth or false news could not be verified or not, the number of followers and how old their accounts were was. Here's what they wrote. Falsehood diffused significantly farther, faster, deeper, and more broadly than the truth in all categories of information. And the effects were more pronounced for false political news than for false news about terrorism, natural disasters, science, urban legends, or financial informations. And then they took a look at why fake news travels so fast and why it's so popular. The researchers found that people are drawn more to novelty, more to drama and excitement. They examined user replies to fake news tweets and found that people expressed more surprise and disgust at misinformation. But they were still drawn to it. Some of this feels quite obvious, they say. Fake news is designed to push people's buttons and encourage them to share through their sheer outrage. It brings up the polls and the ratings for talk shows, for news stations, for radio stations, for social media and Facebook clicks. Significantly, the research looked at how widely fake news was versus real news. While fake news was seen by between 1,000 to 100,000 people, the truth was rarely seen by more than 1,000. Believe it or not. What is truth? And what kind of truth are we seeking for? What are we hoping to discover and learn as we move closer to Easter resurrection joy? Are we hoping to unfold our own truths, or a truth of another, or the truth of who Jesus is in our lives? Pilate is challenged. He's challenged by what he kind of believes might be the truth by the questions he asks. Challenged by the people that he is supposed to be in control of and be keeping the peace of before the Passover. Jerusalem is not Pilate's home. Pilate lives out on the coastline in a huge mansion with all the earthly wonders one could possibly imagine and have. But you see, he's challenged by this man named Jesus. Jesus, who has been saying things like, I am the light in the darkness. I am the bread of your life. Love your enemies. Do unto others the way you would have them do to you. I am not of this world. I am of another kingdom, another realm, another place of belonging. What could it possibly mean that this man Jesus is offering not only a different way of life and inclusion of all people on earth, but eternal life, eternal hope, eternal joy, a different kind of kingdom. So Pilate, in his challenge, recognizes that there are people who are following Jesus, who love Jesus, who have given their life to Jesus, who have done some really outrageous things, like offering expensive perfume, like following him and cutting off a slave's ear in protection of him. Folks who are challenging and seeing that this something different kingdom is a threat to his own rule and reign. And so he's in a quandary. If he persecutes Jesus and puts him to death, makes a decision on his own, then he has to face all these people. And what would that mean to his political endeavors? What would that mean about keeping the peace among the people before the Passover? And then over here he has the Jews who in John's gospel points to the Jewish leaders, the Jewish know-it-alls, actually, who were saying, do something about him. Do something about this man. He's saying things like he believes he is God. Who is he? Put him to death. We can't do it. You do it. And this dialogue between Pilate and Jesus does nothing but speak the truth. speak the truth of himself, speak the truth of the kingdom, speak the truth of the promises yet to come. And Pilate can't handle it. It's tough to hear the truth, to hear the challenges of this world, to recognize that somewhere in the mix of all these people that we often find ourselves challenged by the truth of who we are in this story and who we are in relationship to Jesus, to the Jewish leaders, to Pilate, to our own questions today about what is truth and how do we make our decisions, our own decisions today about what is going on in this world. I've been talking a lot about choosing where to stand and who we stand with throughout this season. I think it's challenging in this time, especially for America, to think about where to stand. And I also find myself thinking quite a bit about politics and government and where we stand in all of that. Now, I'm not supposed to talk about politics from the pulpit, and it makes it quite challenging in today's world not to say something. But where do we stand in all of that? Do we start with what we know about who Jesus is? Are we able, no matter where you stand, Democrat, Republican, CNN, Fox News, NPR, whatever it is, are you able? Are we able to strip it all away and stand in the truth of Jesus? Jesus says, "My kingdom is not of this world." My kingdom is not of this world.